Let me describe you the theory and mechanism behind pattern action and what are the rules for the identification of the breaker block and order block, but breaker block in particular. First of all, the theory. What is a breaker block? Because we need to start with that. You need to identify the swing high. This is swing high. I will mark it like so. This is obviously swing low. Then this is swing high. This is swing low. And this is swing low. This is swing low too. How did I identify it? First, it's obvious. It's obviously, you can use even this swing high because market created this high, then created this low, and then created this lower low. However, the candles are overlapping. You see that there's no progress at all because we have this low of the swing high candle. This is the high swing high, and this candle basically just entered the area. However, same here, this was just an example, swing high. However, this swing high, we have this swing high, we have this low of the swing high candle, and this candle is entirely outside the range. So this is basically valid order block for resistance. And as you can see, it worked. It just left the range created by the order block candle. Now it returned, revisited the area, and continued downwards. So these are the steps for identification of order block. This is obvious situation. This is also an obvious situation. This is absolutely obvious situation. Now there are phases. Let's start with this. I will delete everything and I will start with this candle. It created swing low, which is obvious. Now I actually draw a rectangle defined by the high and by the low of the potential order block candle. And the crucial word here is potential because it's not a valid order block yet. When the candle closes, there can be another candle which creates new low, like so, and another one, and another one, and so on and so on. And then we basically move the range of the potential order block candle. Nothing's finished yet. This did not happen. There were no second red candle, neither the first next red candle, but the market closed with this candle at this close price. But it's still potential order block. This is not a valid order block yet because the price can revisit the area, I mean the range, and invalidate it prior to make it a valid order block. So in this moment, it's still a latent order block, invisible with the indicator. When it became visible, when we have at least one candle entirely outside the range of the potential or latent order block, it's still invalidated. It's like a picture when you take a photo on a film. The picture is there after the moment of the exposition, after you take the picture, but you don't see it. You need to go to the lab and have the film develop it. But the picture is there. Nothing happens. Meanwhile, it's a latent picture. And the same is with the latent order block. It's a potential order block. Anything can happen. You can lose the film on the way to the lab. The lab can damage it. 100 things can happen, and the same with the chart. And to be very honest, I was basically inspired with the film. It's not an analogy, it's a real situation. This order block is latent, it is here. The candle closed, nothing changes, neither the low of the range, neither the high of the range. It is there, but it is a potential order block. You have a potential picture of your family at a beautiful lake during summer, but you need to have developed the picture from the film. And this candle closed, and you are still on your way to the lab with the film. It's not done. Anything can happen. So you need a confirmation. A confirmation, obviously, in the case of the photography, is the picture, the photo in your hand. And with the order block, it's a candle outside the range defined by the potential order block. This is the candle. This is the potential order block. And this candle is decisive. Because the low candle, obviously, as well as the high of the candle, because we are in an uptrend, we see green candles, is outside the range of the currently valid order block. So what happens? This candle is potential support. Potential, we don't know yet. And then we need a confirmation. And the confirmation is candle outside the range of the potential order block. Now we can have a weak or strong order block. What does it mean? I'm still talking about the order block. What does it mean? Again, this candle is decisive. If this candle is in the direction of the expected movement, which means positive, again, it doesn't matter with me whether the candle is red or green. You need to see a positive candle because it's the sign of the strength. Color represents no strength. It just represents whether the open was below close or likewise, obviously, if the close was below the open in the case of the red candle, but otherwise it doesn't represent anything because you can have a candle like this. Thank you, S&P 500, which is red, but this candle is not a negative candle. This candle doesn't represent the sellers. On the other hand, the candle has low here, high here, the mean of the candle is here, and the candle closed above the mean. So buyers were obviously stronger than the sellers because we opened here. Sellers managed to push the candle here, which is nice, to the fair value gap defined by this candle, revisited the fair value gap area, but they did not sustain. They were not powerful enough, and the buyers pushed the price higher and closed here. So buyers were actually stronger than the sellers. Now let's get back to the situation with the order block. Now we are not interested in negative or positive candle. Okay. What is important is that we see the entire candle outside the range. At this moment, it becomes a valid order block, and the candle closes positive. So this is not a weak order block. It's a strong one. So it looks like this. We have another letter in the description of the order block. Then the price returns to the order block here. It visits it for a moment, so it got tested, and then the price continues upwards. So basically there was a beautiful reaction to the order block, and we see this candle which identifies a huge movement up. By the way, another reaction here. What's crucial, I don't use any period parameter. Everything is built solely and basically exclusively on price action, on all those decisions. And this makes pattern action a very consistent way of identifying order blocks and breaker blocks. Now, I will turn the indicator on. It's already in my chart. And you see that it's here. As support S strong, T tested, and X invalidated because we have another candles. We have another order block here, this one, which became support. At the moment of closing this candle, it's nothing. It's not even a potential order block. In the moment of closing this candle, it became a potential order block, still invisible. And after closing this candle, it became a weak order block. That's why there's a W, not the S, because the first candle, the confirmation candle, was weak. However, it basically worked well. Price revisited the area again. There's a reaction. There's the first positive candle. You could have entered trade here, place the stop loss below the signal candle or below the swing low, and trade in the direction of a new trend. So these are the order blocks, and now breaker blocks. Why there is sometimes a breaker block, such as here, and why there's sometimes no breaker block, such as here. You see, there was this order block, but it did not turn to breaker block. You don't see the BB letter in the description of the order block. Why? Because you need to see the power. You need to see the power which turned an order block to breaker block. And there's yet another mechanism based on price action, which actually make it different to turn an order block into the breaker block. Not each order block turns to breaker block, obviously. This one did turn. Why? Because there was the order block, a resistance order block, this one, which became valid at the moment of closing this candle, because I see that this candle had high inside the range of the potential resistance order block, and only this candle made it order block. And now this candle smashed through the order block as if it wasn't there at all. This is a very important condition, as if there was no order block at all. So it can be one candle, a single candle, which literally smashes through the order block and turned it to the breaker block. But in this case, were there any smashing? Yes and no, because we see the order block here. But this candle, which entered the area of the range of the order block to turn it into the breaker block, closed here in the range. But it's still breaker block. You see, it's blue, how it comes. Because the next candle closed positive again. These candles, there must be a set of candles, obviously at least one candle, which re-enter the area of the range of the order block, but signals the trend. And signaling the trend based on price action means a series of positive candles. There isn't a single candle which is negative. Unlike here, because we had an order block here, then the candles entered the area, but basically hesitated. It closed below. There was no candle outside the range of the broken order block. Price revisited the range and closed outside at the other side of the former order block because it got invalidated. It was no more valid. That's an X in the description. That's an X. And these are the mechanism running in the algorithm of the pattern action indicator. And as you can see, those rules are very strict, very strictly set up so that you don't have to think about it and you get the best results from the point of identification of the order blocks. let me find another examples, because obviously in this case there was a rotation. Those candles are overlapping, and it's obvious then when we see the overlapping candles, then there's no order block. The obvious order block, I'm talking about this one. Why? I will draw the order blocks and I will explain you all of them. Because this candle entered the area of the order block, and the next candle, I'm sorry, and the next candle was negative ether. Also. Same this one, talking about this one, and the upper one, the uppermost, this one. All the candles which re-entered the areas of the order block were negative. It was the first candle, the second candle. This smashes through the second order block and turned it into the breaker block. But also this is a valid breaker block. The candle which entered the area was negative, and the next candle was negative as well. I'm looking for a nicer example. Maybe here. This is a good idea and a good example. Let's check this order block. It could have been a nice order block. However, this candle was positive. However, this candle closed outside the range and was negative. So basically there's no rule for turning the order block into the breaker block. Then there was this positive candle, and this candle is negative. You see, it closed below the mean of the candle, and then there's this red candle. So the conditions about smashing through the order block with a series of the candles confirming the direction. In this case, it was a resistance order block, and to have a support breaker block, the trend is missing here. They entered the area, went outside, entered the area, closed outside, then they actually smashes through, but after hesitation. Compare this potential breaker block exactly with this situation. There's no hesitation at all. There's a trend, an obvious trend. So this is the difference between this order block and this order block. This was not a breaker block anymore, never, but this one, unlike this one, because this one is obviously much stronger. So these are the mechanism behind. You don't need to understand that. I'm explaining this just to show you how complex the algorithm is. It's not just drawing a rectangle and that's it. We have an order block here. No, there are strict rules for identification of the potential order block, because not every candle which created low turns into potential order block and eventually into the order block, because this candle must represent the previous trend. So the candle which generates a support order block must be negative, no matter what the color is. I spoke about the negative, positive already. So it's the first things. Then there are rules outside the range of the potential order block, which must be fit to make it a valid order block. Then there's the weak and strong order block. You see how strong the reaction was, because the idea is that you have an order block, which is the last candle representing the original trend. And then you want to see a strong reaction, no hesitation, not like, I don't know, if we want to go upwards, downwards, compare this order block to this order block, because this order block basically initiated this huge movement, this huge downtrend. But this candle on the other hand, was smashed through and turned into the breaker block. So breaker block is basically a betrayal. It's a change of the entire structure which they started building because they eventually smashed through. And all those traders who basically calculated with this order block turning into the support order block and wanted to trade the uptrend got trapped here. So that's why the breaker blocks are basically stronger and much more interesting than the order blocks. And that's it.